Dude.
I just whisper to you and ask you. They can't hear me.
Great. We whisper like this if they can't hear us. Okay, so the countdown has started. We'll put the game up on screen for you guys very soon. I am observing this game, so it will not be the best observing in the world, but I will do my best.
Oh, you are a great observer.
I gotta get my excuses out of the way soon. So, it's loading up. It's a 3-player map. Shadow over here in the bottom as the Protoss. Thorzain wishing him luck and have fun. Same with Shadow.
Well, Thorzain didn't actually wish the luck. But,
yeah, that's true.
Shadow
just to have fun.
Oh.
And over here we have Thorzain. Sortosis, this is the map we do not have in GSL.
Yeah, Test Bug.
Test
it's actually quite a nice map. I've watched quite a few MLG games on it. Haven't actually played it, though. You know, I'm going to be really interested to see how Thorzain actually approaches this. This is, of course, his first MLG. And it's actually just so great to have him over here. I hope he comes to Korea soon as well. One of the most talented players. And how exactly is Shadow going to stand up to him? You know, he actually has perhaps the best Terran versus Protoss in the whole world. He has taken out huge beasts such as Liquid Tyler, such as OGS MC, and of course Nanoa in the finals of TSL.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. There's always upsets. You can never count Shadow out. You know, as good as Thorzain is, he was at one point in time, I guess you could say, a Shadow himself. He was, you know, in the background. Well, you know, he was in the background of a lot of these other good players. You know, when we met him at the Star Wars tournament, which I will just throw out that we beat Korea in that national tournament, USA versus Korea, and lost to China. You know, Thorzain, who was participating in the Warcraft 3 tournament, he was new to Starcraft 2. I obviously knew he was smart, but I didn't expect him to have this much potential. And now, you know, I'm happy to say he's proved me wrong. So perhaps Shadow will do the same in this instance.
You know, maybe he will. He's already gotten pretty far in that open bracket. And, you know, you got to wonder, is he going to go for a long macro game, or is he going to just try some cheeses? I think we're going to see Thorzain play very, very safely here because, well, if you get into the late game with Thorzain, he just kind of out-micros you and out-strategizes you and has better upgrades, like, just looks better, cloaks his ghost, you know, whatever. He does everything.
Yeah, he gets all his bases covered pretty well. You know, another thing to note is that Thorzain, with his bio ball, you know, the Marine Marauder, Medevac, he's so good at controlling that in combination with Vikings. I'm curious to see if our Protoss player is actually going to tech to Colossus.
Yeah.
He might want to mix it up. You know, for those of you that don't follow a lot of competitive StarCraft, we generally see most Protoss players, especially several months ago, default into Colossus openings.
Yes, yes. It's obviously still by far the most popular, but
probably the most stable.
As you were saying, Thorzain, especially for any of you who watched the TSL #3, a great tournament, by the way. I mean, he had the greatest micro that I have yet seen against that ball, especially on that Shakur's Plateau game. Where he was actually just dodging the Colossus beams and kiting. It was absolutely amazing. So I just can't wait to see how his opponent deals with this.
Now I want to pick your thoughts for a minute. We have a second Zealot being chrono boosted out here. I'm under the impression he's going to be doing some kind of rush here with the second Zealot popping out, the Stalker on the way. Interesting situation, though. He is supply block.
Oh, no, the pylon
just finished, excuse me. But he's definitely chrono boosting out a lot of units here while getting work gauge. So he might want to apply some pressure to Thorzain, who is getting 2 racks.
Yeah, it looks like he might. I mean, his other Zealot is up pretty far. A few Marines going out there for Thorzain, as we see.
I think he should be fine with the second barracks up, especially with the reactor and the tech lab on both of them.
Oh, certainly. And here's the thing. Concussive shells are on the way, Tasteless, and if those finish and his opponent attacks just at that time, he's going to lose a lot of units. And if you lose a couple early units against a Terran doing a build like this, you might just die. He might just walk over to you and kill you, and you won't have too much to say about that.
We see he's now chrono boosting out more probes, getting a sentry. Both these guys going for one-base builds, not as focused, I should say, on economics, much more on aggression. The games can get interesting in situations like this where they're both going for roughly the same idea of approaching the game, because it becomes a lot more about unit control. You lose maybe one Stalker in a skirmish, that can cost you the game.
Uh-oh. He's got to be very careful about
this.
Those
are Thorzain's rocks.
Get away from there. And the Zealots are going to run away just in time. Oh, never mind. Not just in time. It looks like Thorzain is going to catch a Zealot, and that's going to be very annoying for Shadow.
Nice move there, sending that one Zealot back into it. Thorzain micros back. That will give our other Zealot a chance to kind of get some space over here as they run up the ramp. he can force field and buy some time. With 3 gates, he should be able to hold this unless a real big miss micro.
His warp gate's just finished up. 2 sentries about to pop out. He is going to be able to hold this just fine as long as he force fields right.
All right, he needs to keep his distance. More stalkers need to be warped in here. Another nice container, but he's got to be careful. You don't want to lose sentries in this situation.
And 1 sentry's gone down, a lot of damage, and loses another sentry. Nice Marine by Thorzain right there. And this is actually going to look really bad for poor Shadow.
Well, you can get as many force fields up as you want, but if you lose these sentries, I mean, they cause so much Vespian gas. And I think Thorzain is going to adroitly pull out here as he's done enough damage.
Yes, that was very adroitly done.
Very adroit indeed.
Well, we do see Thorzain is going ahead and expanding behind this pressure, and he has already done the damage he wanted. You know, his expansion's coming up quicker. He's killed some of those very expensive sentries, and Shadow is going to be playing from just a little bit behind.
And as you can see, Thorzain making a bunker here next to what I can only assume is the little tape line he made to prove that it's his side of the base, that his opponent is not supposed to cross. Now, taking out these rocks is going to give him access to the Xel'Naga watchtower. This is a great way to approach this.
Yeah, you definitely want to hold on to that tower. See if his opponent is actually going to counterattack. He knows that he had at least 2 or 3 gateways there. You always can go ahead and add more. And, of course, Thorzain right now has no idea that he expanded, though he's going to assume most likely that that's what happened.
We have a robotics facility on the way, 2nd gateway. And Chrono Boost continuing to be used here on the Nexus. Meanwhile, back at Thorzain's base, he is getting the additional refineries, and he's going to go ahead and get the starport. Now, if our player Shadow does decide to get Colossus, he will automatically be behind if Thorzain starts his Vikings in time. Sometimes we see players just get 2 medevac dropships, then transition into mass Viking.
Yeah, and that might be a good idea here. He's going to have to definitely keep an eye out to see if Colossus are in the game plan. 2 gases going up at our Protoss expansion as well, so I think that, in fact, I know because I'm looking at that production tab that you have open, Tasteless, that somewhere on this map there is a robotics bay.
Yeah, it's right over here.
Oh, that's silly.
There it is. Now we have the, so he's going to be getting Colossus soon, excuse me. Now, will this trigger the Vikings, or is he going to keep on making medevacs? This is actually quite pivotal in this situation.
I think he's going to go kind of-ish for a select style play. Obviously, he's gotten those really quick medevacs off of just 2 barracks, so he can go ahead, start dropping, start doing little harass, because when Shadow has rushed just so quickly to these Colossus, he's going to be a little bit short on the ground units. You know, as you see there, he's only got a couple stalkers up. That's what you kind of want to snipe dropships with, so he's going to have to be very careful defending any of that.
Now, he's made it inside of his opponent's base with the Observer. Vikings are on the way. Meanwhile, Terran pushing out now. Another Observer is here to spot this. Sometimes Terran push out. They force the Protoss army to gather up here, then pick up and drop in locations like this one. However, I don't think he's going to have that element of surprise. Thorzain should see the blip, though, as he moves along here.
Oh, and a little drop, a diversion in the main base. He can stim and go to the front if he wants, but a good unit split up so far. Only 4 stalkers going in the main, and here he comes. He wants to set that Colossus, and he takes it out. Force field's going up a little bit slow there. In the meantime, Hellion's in the main base, and Shadow is in a lot of trouble, Tasteless. His supply is plummeting, and when those force fields are gone, Thorzain's angry Marauders are going to walk right into that natural.
Getting a lot of probes here. Action on both sides here. Looks like Thorzain may have breached the front. Probes are having to use to defend in both locations. All 3 Hellions still alive and with enough HP to be a serious threat. And you know what? I think he may have just completely disarmed his opponent here.
Yeah, it does seem so. 41 supply to 106. Looks like that Nexus will in fact be going down. And this is not a recoverable position for Shadow. I'm trying to imagine what magic he could do to come back here. But quite literally, magic such as EMP would not really help.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty rough. At this point in time, Thorzain may want to just pull back and go home and basically get more ahead.
That's a really good idea.
I once knew a wise nerd that said that, Artosis.
That's right, man. Thorzain going to walk home now. We notice he has a very nice economy right there. The Ghost Academy is, in fact, up. And going for a second starport, that is something Thorzain, he's kind of the leader in this charge of going to starport against Colossus type play. And it's just so smart, Tasteless. You get enough medevacs out still, and you get enough Vikings to actually deal with the Colossi.
You know, when he's this far behind, I don't even know if he's going to be able to upgrade out of the forge here without the threat of Thorzain attacking him once more. And of course, with an economy like this, he can get, as you can see, 2 starports, double the number of Vikings. And, you know, after he kills the Colossi, he could just land the Vikings with the Marine Marauder medevac and clean house.
You know, when you have a lot of support, those Vikings still do quite a bit of damage. And we do see, in fact, that a Nexus going up right here in the natural. It looks like he just wants to go ahead and try to play a turtley game, get his unit composition up, get something that can deal with what Thorzain has. But Thorzain may just go ahead and attack pretty soon, because without that Colossus to deal damage, Shadow is not going to be able to hold.
You know, I feel bad for Shadow right now. I mean, you and I have both been competitive and professional gamers for such a long time. I've been in games where I'm losing this badly, but of course, you know, so much is on the line. You want to keep trying and hoping that perhaps your opponent will make a blunder. But of course, this is Thorzain, and I do believe this is also the end of the game with a nice EMP here, and he is going to clean this up. GG.
That last battle was a little bit brutal, Tasteless. Thorzain showing us why he is actually a contender, even though he's coming from the open bracket.
And the crowd goes wild. So, that was a pretty straightforward game. It was, I think it was a situation where Thorzain's control was just so good. He sort of walked in there and outmaneuvered his opponent.
Yeah,
I think Shadow could have held that, but Thorzain was just too good at multitasking in 2 different locations.
If you really look at exactly what happened in that first battle where he dropped the 3 Hellions in the main base, Shadow actually did some really good decisions. You know, he sent in the Stalkers to deal with that. That's what you should be doing. But his Colossus was way out in the front. It was literally standing over his front row of Zealots, and he just ran up and sniped it. So from there, it's, I don't know, man.
He should have moved it back a
you
little
need to
bit.
keep it alive.
Keep it on hold position. Don't have it in your control group. All right, we're going to go to a very short commercial, but don't go too far away. I'm Tasteless. With me is Artosis, and this is the MLG.